Good morning and welcome to Willow's Green Permaculture. Today's July 17th. We're just about 1 month away from having done this now for a year. It's been 11 months since we started doing these videos, and it's been a lot of fun. Today, in today's video, we're going to be harvesting the garlic. What happened to all the garlic? So, let's get started. Before we get started on the garlic harvest, I'd like to talk to you about a few things that are going on in the garden, and also about why I like to walk barefoot in the garden this time of year. First, let's have a look. If you look at the peppers here, which are doing really well, there are a whole bunch of peppers growing. And when in one of the videos where when I was talking to you about transplanting the peppers when they were really small, I showed you the sunflower and this mustard here that I had cut right down. And so as you can see, here it is. Here's where I cut this sunflower down in that video. And so as you can see, doesn't matter that I cut it down, it regrew anyways, and I'm quite surprised actually that it's already blooming at the same time as the other one. So it was really happy to just regrow, and as you can see, it's going to have a whole bunch of blooms. Same thing with the mustard here, but I've cut this already 2 or 3 times since then, just to keep it small so we can have some mustard flowers, because they're really good at attracting the pollinators. We also like to eat them. Tastes just like mustard, and eventually we'll be able to collect the seeds. So now, in the previous video, I talked about the fact that I like to walk barefoot in the garden, and there are many reasons for that. First of all, it just feels good. It feels good to be connected to the soil, connected to the ground, connected to the earth, and I really feel that. But there are a lot of other good reasons apart from it being refreshing and all the rest of it. And one of them is, when I'm barefoot in the garden, I can feel what's going on. So I can feel if the soil is dry, or if it's moist, or if it's downright waterlogged. And that's really important. And I can just feel that right through my feet. I don't have to do anything else. And also, as you can see, some of the plants are growing right into the pathways, and I like to let them do that as much as possible, because they're looking for sunlight here, and they have more sunlight in the pathways. And if I can still more or less pass through, then I'd like to let them stay that way. And so when I'm walking bare feet, if I can't really see here, it's not very thick. It's not growing very thickly, so I can really see where I'm going. Okay, however, sometimes when it is growing more thickly and I can't see where I'm going, then as I'm stepping, my feet will be able to feel if there's, for instance, right here, I can feel this vine here, and so if I feel a vine, I'll shift my weight so that I can put my foot down somewhere else. And you see it now, I just, I felt this bean vine here growing all the way near the ground. Whoops. So I'm just going to pick this up and put it around some of these corn leaves here. Corn's doing real well, by the way, and the beans too. And so you see, here's another vine, so if I step on it, oops, I'm not putting my weight on it yet, so I just shift my weight and I can avoid it. And so that's how, you see here, it's a little bit more, can't really see, and so I can shift my weight. And also, well, it's a bit of a form of an exercise, like Tai Chi or yoga or something like that, because I'm playing around with my weight, trying to walk. Then I can go in and see what's going on in the garden. And so, and it just feels really good. So from about the beginning of July, when there aren't as many mosquitoes, right up until the frost, and as much beyond the first frost that I can handle with my feet. Because at some point after the first frost starts, then I spend more than 10 minutes on the barefoot outside, and it starts to get too much. So let's go harvest some garlic. So I had planned, when I planted this last, I think it was October 18th, that I'd probably be harvesting it around July 18th. I've been wanting to harvest for the last couple days, but it's been pouring rain here, and I don't really feel like working in the garden when it's pouring rain. And with all the intense rain we've been getting and all the really hot weather and the really sunny weather, the weeds have just gone crazy. You can't even see the garlic anymore. But the garlic was really well advanced even when these weeds started to jump. And so I think it's going to be just fine. Now, to begin, I've got a fork with me. I'm not going to need to use this fork the whole time I'm pulling the garlic. Because the thing is, you don't want to pull a piece of garlic straight out of the ground without loosening the soil a little bit, because you might end up just pulling the stem out and you lose the garlic. That's happened to me a lot, and then it ends up just, that one garlic ends up growing as about 12 garlics the following year. But I want to get as many as possible, and so I start with a fork. Make sure I don't fork my toes with this, but I shouldn't, of course. I'm only going to use it once or twice, and then I'm going to start pulling things, and I'll show you as I'm pulling them. And then once I've pulled one section of garlic, having loosened the soil with the fork, then all the other sections alongside should come out easily, because this section alongside of them has been loosened, having pulled that garlic. And so that's one trick I want to show you. And another one is I'll show you when I've gotten some garlic out. And then with this whole the space that's going to be left in this area, at this point in the season, I'm not going to bother planting anything else here. And so this is going to become a little compost area. I'm going to put all the weeds that I pull that I don't need to keep at the foot of other plants. I'm going to pile them up right here, just so that I can keep the weeds down here, because we're mid-July, August. In 3 months, I'm going to be planting the garlic here again. So some of the garlic that I'm going to harvest today, I'm going to choose for replanting. So now I'm just going to loosen a bit of the soil and start pulling some of this garlic. So here are our first ones, and I'm just going to keep on going. There you go, here's some more. Now, as you can see, there are all sorts of different sizes here. There's some really big ones, there's some small ones. Some of the smaller ones might have been because I didn't manage to get off the garlic scape in time, which is fine. Some of them might be small because of all these weeds. As far as the flavor is concerned, however, the size doesn't matter whatsoever. Often I'll save the biggest ones for replanting, but I promised Magali that I would give her some really big ones this year, and so
yes.
And so there's going to be a lot of big garlics for Magali in the kitchen. The thing is, I mean, the stuff that the weeds give to the garden, I don't mind getting a few smaller garlic. All the time it would have taken me to make sure that none of these grow to get you know, a slightly larger percentage of large garlics. It's really not worth it. I prefer to have the biodiversity. So now I'm just going to keep harvesting, and then in a few minutes I'll show you everything that comes out. You can see that they're planted fairly close together. That way the weeds that did grow didn't have much space to develop. And really, I'm pulling these weeds, some of them, they have very, very small root systems because the garlics were quite established before the weeds started to grow. For the longest time, there was just garlic in here. Okay, I'm going to give the camera a break, and I'm just going to keep harvesting, and I'm going to show you what comes out afterwards. Here's some of what I've pulled. The other stuff is kind of behind me, but I'll show you the rest in a bit. So here's the first bunch. Because there's so much of it, I'm going to be carrying it to the wheelbarrow bits at a time. And also because there's so much of it, the different garlics, develop at different rates, just like any animal or any plant. And if I show you this one, for example, so this one is a little what you might call past its prime for harvest, but only for the purposes of storing. So anything that, because this one, it's not going to store very well because it doesn't have any skin, because as you can see, the leaves died back probably a good week ago. However, this is going to go, Magali is going to be really happy about this because there's going to be a lot for the kitchen right away. Anything that's like this is going right into the kitchen, and Magali has a million different things that she can do with the garlic right away. So she's going to be really happy about that.
Absolutely.
And then the rest that's good for storing, well, I'll show you how we do that afterwards. So let's take this out. Now we're going to be walking through the cabbage, between the cabbage, carrots, and tomatoes, and calendula. So I'm glad I got my bare feet, so I'm not stepping on the cabbage leaves. Going by the peas here that are finishing up, and all this wild lettuce all over the place here, which makes the pathways a little softer. At some point I just leave the garden to the plants. Garden belongs to the plants, and I let everything grow. It's so much more fun that way. Okay, so I've got my wheelbarrow here. Just gonna put these in there for now, and then I will go get some more. I just want to show this to Magali because this is gonna be one of the garlics that I'm gonna okay. I make sure to go around the garlic. I don't want to pierce the garlic with my fork. That would not be good. Well, Magali wouldn't mind because that would just go straight to the kitchen. She's always impatient to get the fresh garlic in July. I don't blame her. Okay, let's go. See how easily that comes out? That's a weed. Sometimes if there's a weed right beside the garlic, I pull on the weed at the same time and it pulls the garlic out more easily. Like look at here. This garlic doesn't want to come out because look at its leaves. So its leaves are all, now this is because of all the weeds, of course. So I should have got on top of these earlier, but it's all right. So now I'm going to pull this weed at the same time, and the weed is better connected to its roots. So watch. This one didn't want to pull out. All of this stuff was going to pull off. But watch this. There we go. There we go. Now that garlic pulled out with the rest of its stem. Not that I really need that anyway. That's going to go into the kitchen. Here to give you an idea of how thickly the weeds grew around the garlic in the last couple of weeks. With all this really hot weather and a lot of rain and a lot of sun. And in hindsight, probably should have gotten on top of them a little bit. We probably got a few less garlic than we might have. We got a total of 407 garlics out of 490 cloves that we planted. It just means that the other 80 or so, they're underground because their stems probably just were completely decomposed. So I'll see those garlics popping up between now and the fall. See all the weeds that have come up, all the jewelweed, mustard, and so on. And over here, so here's some more of our garlic. The rest of it's all in the wheelbarrow. I think there's a bunch under that pile of weeds, which I'll check for later. And there's probably some still in the ground, which is fine too. Some, I mean, like still in the ground here where we've already pulled it up. Some of them might have stayed, and that's fine too. It'll just come up later. Okay, so I'm gonna start pulling some more garlic. That's a nice one. Okay, look at this. So I probably waited a little bit too long because we've had an absolutely wonderful amount of rain. I've been so happy, except that it's just been a bit too rainy to harvest as far as I'm concerned. But this is a good example of when they're ready to harvest. Okay, because your bottom leaves, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, are all dried up. There were probably about 4 here. And what's left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and so these 5 are the nice firm, like this skin that you see here that's peeling off. This skin, well, that's the skin. See that peeling off like that? That is the skin from these leaves. See, let me just see, peel this, peel, 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 peel. Oh, there you go. See that? Let's do it again. Let's peel this one. Peel, peel. Oh, see, that one is so decomposed that it's not even attached anymore. Let's try this one. If I can get it. Well, you know what the heck. Now I'm gonna peel. No, that one doesn't want to come down. So anyways, there you go. So those really thin pieces, well, those are the ones from the leaves that have dried up. But all this firm stuff, you see, like I tried to peel that green leaf and it wouldn't let me peel it. Okay, so all these this firm stuff here, that's these top leaves. And so when these dry up I'm gonna put them in the sun for a few hours, but not long. I don't want to put them long in the sun, just to dry off, like just the outer, let's say. And then I'm going to put them in a shelter and make sure that both doors are open in the shelter, so that there's a cross bees. I'm going to put them on a mesh and then let them dry. And so these leaves, these are going to dry up, and the outer leaves will dry up here, and this will be good for storing. And anything that's not good for storing, like I said, it's going into the kitchen for use right away, and also for transformation right away in very different ways. And so we'll still be able to have it all winter. Let's continue. So we're coming to the end. That's the third pile of garlic there I'm about to pick up. I'm just going to loosen these last bunch that are close to the cabbage. And so obviously you have to be careful I don't loosen any of the cabbage, but I'm still pretty far away. So loosen these up a bit before taking them out. You know, I was saying earlier, talking about being barefoot in the garden, and some people have said, you know, what about fire ants and stuff? You know, we have fire ants here, probably not as many as there are in the south, but we do have them. Man, that formic acid they bite with is something else. But you know, I get bit by stuff every day when I'm working barefooted. But I also have lots of plantain planted, and curly dock and burdock and jewelweed. All that stuff works to just take the pain away, or the itch away if it's a mosquito. And but I wouldn't stop. I love being barefoot. Alright. Pull some of these raspberries too while I'm at it. Nice big pile of weeds here that's going to cover all this area when I'm done. So that it'll be easy in October to replant. So let's go. Last bunch of garlic here right by the cabbage. Sometimes the garlic wants to stay in the ground. I don't use little forks or trowels, because if I try and use a fork or a trowel for a garlic that's stuck, I'm gonna break it. I'd rather not break the garlic. I don't mind so much breaking the stem. I don't want to break the head. Occasionally they're stubborn, especially when they're deeper than usual. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was careful about loosening this, and they're often deeper on the edges, I guess. Deeper roots. They started off with more sunlight, I guess. I like digging in the ground though. It's fun. Come on up. Come on up, you garlic. Oops. Oh my goodness. These guys are stubborn. They say, no, I want to stay. Oh. Cabbage is going to get a nice dose of sunlight.
So much big garlic, so we'll go in the kitchen.
Oh my goodie, what do you think about this year's harvest compared to last year's?
The last year was good, but when you took all the big ones, oh my goodness, I still remember my feelings. But actually, I know I will have some of the biggest one.
Yep, that's right.
So I'm happy.
Go. Just collect these up. And then when I spread this, all these weeds to just use as mulch for here until the next garlic harvest, I'll check, see if there's any stragglers. Well, you know, if there are any stragglers, they're just going to start sprouting again. That's fine, and I'll either pull them up to eat or I'll just let them stay there. Alright. Let's bring these to the wheelbarrow. Give them some sunlight for a couple hours. And then it's going to be a well ventilated, shaded area to dry. Whoosh, heavy, heavy. Look at all that garlic. Delicious. And eat some like an apple. No more garlic. All cleaned up. Cabbage and the onions and the borage. The other plants gonna get a bit more sun. And I'm gonna spread all these weeds here, just so nothing else grows for the moment. Now these weeds are gonna keep this spot in reserve for the garlic this coming October. If I decide to put the garlic here, I may switch things up a little. I'm considering putting tomatoes all down here next year. And so maybe I won't put the garlic here. I'll move the garlic to where the tomatoes are right now. And then over here, just under that sugar maple, I'm thinking I'll put the cabbage, because the cabbage it tolerates that area much better. And I think I need to switch up the cabbage because it's been 3 years here in this area. So, you know, like some of the bugs, sometimes they overwinter and then they go after them. So far they're doing good though. So far these cabbage are doing good. I also went and picked some weeds from elsewhere in the garden to put here. What I pulled up from here wasn't quite enough to give a nice thick layer, so. A couple hours in the sun like this, and then they're going to be off to the shelter to dry. These are Magali's favorites that she chose. Wanted to make sure she got them for the kitchen. I'm going to bring these into the garage and dry them in there. And all the rest, well, some of them are going right into the kitchen because, you know, they don't have much protective skin. And all the rest are in here in our shelter that sort of holds all sorts of different things, and they're on our shelves that we use for our pots, our plants in the springtime, in the early spring and in the winter. Now they're in here for the garlic, and a few other spots here too. I'm going to spread them out a little bit more evenly. Got a bit more room on some of these shelves for some. Here are about 60 of the biggest ones that Magali chose to bring into the kitchen right away. And then the next 90 biggest ones I'm gonna collect for replanting in October, which hopefully that will get us about another 500 planted for next year. And during the process of curing, this shelter is going to remain open 24 hours a day. Now, as we finish up, I leave you on a rainy scene in the fenced-in area just behind our house. I hope you liked the video. I hope you found it useful. If you found it useful, then share it with your friends. And if you haven't done so yet, then subscribe to our channel. Support our channel just by subscribing, and maybe you can see some more of our videos. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.